Hello, hello, hello. You're welcome once again to our Monday program, The Debate. And our topic for today is the African girl child empowered to actively take part in nation building? I am your host, Molifo Elvis Ambe from Cameroon. And today on our panel, we are going to have Penelope Kapere from Namibia. We have Daniel Kuji Now Messi from Ghana. A third on our panel is Pauline Haikola from Namibia equally. And we have Philip Otino Miyugi from Kenya. And we have two powerful ladies who are joining us this afternoon. We have Rachel and Mam Lee, who do the work in the back curtains so that this debate can go on very, very smoothly. I welcome all of you again. I welcome even our fans who are watching us on YouTube and on Facebook. Visit our Facebook page, Some Point Social Service, and you will have all our videos for the past debate. You're welcome again once more, and I'm going to be taking a turn to have you introduce yourselves properly, and I'll be beginning with Penelope. Penelope, a word for our viewers.
Hi everyone, so my name is Penelope Chibeo Kapere and I'm from Namibia. I studied international relations and sociology as my undergrad, and I'm currently doing my master's in philanthropic studies. Today I will be discussing for the African girl child to be empowered and to be seen as a prominent member in nation building.
Thank you very much. Daniel?
Okay, hi, my name is Daniel Kujo Nwamisi from Ghana. I studied BSc Architecture and have a Master's in Architecture. I currently do project management and creative design supervision. And today I'm arguing against the girl child not being fully empowered to contribute to nation building in Africa.
You're going to have it really hot today. I continue soon with Pauline. Pauline, you're welcome. This is your first time on our platform, and we are happy having you around.
Good evening, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are. I am Paulina Haikola. I studied foreign affairs for my undergrad, and for my master's, I studied African studies. So I've looked at both sides. I'm not sure quite yet which side I'll be picking.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Philip Otino from Nairobi, Kenya. Can we have a word from you, sir? Philip, are you getting us? All right, Philip has problems getting us, so we are going to continue. Yes, okay, Philip is on.
I'm Philip Myogi, and I'm Kenya. I have a Bachelor of Science in Social Science.
Getting us?
I'm Philip Myogi. I'm from Kenya. I've done of Science and Social Science, and I work as customer service officer, and I also do freelance writing. I'm looking forward to.
All right, thank you so much for being part of our program. I have Ikome Rachel. A word from you for our viewers before we dive straight into our topic of the day. Rachel?
Hello,
Rachel has
everyone.
problems there with her network.
Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, I'll get to you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Rachel Ikome from Cameroon. I am the Sompan Social Service Project Coordinator, and I work as a Public Relations and Administrative Officer of the African Union Subcommittee on Decentralization. I wish you all a very, very upbuilding debate. All the best.
Thank you so much. You are a resource person to this platform, and we want to say we hail you for the work you do in the backstage so that our programs can be what we have it today. We'll be getting Madame Lee, who has conspicuously disappeared on the screen. I'm sure she'll be coming back. Thank you so much. And today our topic is Is the African girl child empowered to actively take part in nation building? And I go first by looking at education, which is said to be the process of providing information to an inexperienced person to help him or her develop physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, spiritually, politically, and equally economically. And if we go by the Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in December 1949, it stipulates that everyone has the right to education, and this shall be free at least in the elementary and primary stages. It stipulates equally that elementary education shall be compulsory, while technical and professional education shall be made general or generally available. It goes ahead again to say higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. And in every society, we know that education connotes acquisition of something good, something worthwhile. And today we are looking at the education of the girl child, and we have the men who are saying that it is no need educating a girl child because she will not be empowered to actively take part in nation building. While the girls are standing very firm to shout to the top of their voices that the girl child deserves to be educated. And that is why they are even on the platform. If they were not educated, they will surely have nothing to tell us this evening. So it is going to be a heated debate. And I promise those listening to us on YouTube, on Facebook, that you are going to be edified, you're going to be challenged. For those who are parents and thinking that they should or should not educate their girl children, you are going to have the result just here on the program, the debate. Gentlemen, you're once again so welcome. And we'll take on the very first worry. What does it take to empower a girl child? I begin with the ladies. Maybe I take Penelope first, who is a lady, because I know the men will be saying that it takes nothing to educate a girl child, or that the girl child needs no education. Which, if I had an opinion, I'm just a moderator. If my opinion could count, you definitely know where I'll be going to. So let me take Penelope. What does it take to empower or to educate a girl child?
Well, in Africa, I think the challenges that the girl or the African child faces, there are a few issues. And for one, I'll name the issue of early child marriage. We know that there has been traditions that have been upheld pre-colonial and post-colonial of girls getting married as young as 13, 12 in places like Niger, Mali. And that becomes a hindrance to the African girl child because it means that they have to give up their education to stay at home and look after the family. And this has been the notion with a lot of just the mindsets around women in Africa being known to stay behind, stay at home, stay in the house, raise a family. And we have been sort of seen as this people who are not able to study, or if we are meant to study, we are seen but not heard. And there's been institutions in place, such as the political hemisphere, that has made it very difficult and challenging for the woman to sort of break through. And okay, I guess when the conversation carries on, we could look into that. But yeah, so it's education has been very challenging because a lot of girls, at least I think the average is 15 million girls have or in Africa are experiencing early child marriage or at the risk of it. And then we have issues of FGM again. And then just the mindsets around women and girls just not being seen or being seen as capable to be responsible, even though they're seen to be responsible in the home front, not responsible enough to make decisions pertaining, I guess, a nation and greater responsibility, which is not true. And that's why I'm fighting that the girl child should be seen as a permanent member in nation building.
Penelope holds strongly that is just the issue of mindset that has prompted some parents in Africa. We are in Africa, of course, and we are saying that if this mindset is changed, the girl child will have a voice in the society and will equally take part in nation building. I take the man who is around, Philip Meyugi. Do you think it is important to educate a girl child? Unmute your microphone, that is good.
Yes, I strongly believe I will go the side this way, and also that is very important to educate children. Is important to educate. And I think as
Oh, your network is so broken.
hear me?
We are barely getting you, Philip. Your network is really,
Can you
really
hear me?
so broken.
All right. So I think we can say we let both and lead the child behind, or say that we let the child, because they are better. This everybody opportunity, and
I
that
can
today
barely,
I will
I
agree
can barely get you, Philip.
with my big
Okay, Philip, I'll be coming back to you. Philip, I'll be coming back to you. Your line is really so broken. I can barely get what you're saying. Maybe I take Pauline. Pauline, you're welcome to our platform. I would like to hear what you have to say about the importance or what it takes to empower a girl child, an African girl child.
Yes, I certainly agree with Penelope, what she said so far. And in terms of what it takes to empower an African girl child, I think it's important to start with their parents, specifically their mothers, because as Africans, we respect our elders and we tend to heed what they tell us to do or follow what they advise us to do. So if we can get the mothers and or the elder women in the communities to see and understand the importance of educating an African girl child, then we can begin to truly get to the children themselves and empower them to value their education and to resist any temptation or um, any of these economic traps that are set in society by men for them to be distracted from their studies. So things like men who approach teenage girls who are still in school for sexual activity in exchange for finances. If we can empower the mothers along with their daughters to resist such things, then I think there's hope to empower and educate more African girl children.
Okay, we empower the parents.
Yes.
When we talk even about empowerment, what do we mean, Pauline? For some people, be hearing empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. They don't actually know what we are really talking about.
In this context, in this discussion for me, when we talk about empowering the girl child to be educated, it means giving them the tools, the skills, and the knowledge necessary to take charge and benefit from the way society is organized today. So that means giving them the tools to be economically independent. And what I have seen in my own experience, as well as the women I know, is that when you are educated, you are able to get a job and have finances of your own, and therefore make decisions of your own that don't rely on your parents necessarily, and certainly don't require you to be married at a time when you might be too young or even not ready to take on such a responsibility of being a wife, a mother, and uh, those social responsibilities. So for me, it means having the skills and the tools and the knowledge to participate in the modern economy to benefit yourself as an individual and then your family as well.
Okay, Daniel, you're joining us. I'm sure you had network problems. And you guys are for the fact that women should not be educated. And we are still looking at the superficial part of this, which is what it takes to empower a girl child. Or maybe what does it take to empower an African child? Let me put it that way to you so that when you're coming in, you will not be mixed up with your point of view.
Okay, I think first of all we should clarify a bit that we are not against the education, because education in itself is a right that everyone needs to enjoy. But we are looking at Africa as it is today, whether the girl child is really empowered to contribute to nation building. And with respect to that, I would say we are not there yet because of the prevalence of a lot of cultural norms. Fortunately, a lot of females and girls are able to go through the education system, but then when they get home, the narrative changes, and that in itself is one of the reasons why we are not there yet, where the girl is empowered to actively take part in nation building or contribute greatly to nation building. That's what I would say.
Okay, if we go back memory lane, looking at history, we will notice that there are many women who took part in the highest positions in our African country, like the presidency. We're thinking of Helen Johnson, who ruled Liberia from 2016 to 2018, and it is because she was educated, if I have an opinion. Now, what impact does empowerment cause in the life of a girl child? What's the impact that empowerment can cause to the life of a girl child? I take Pauline, who is the only lady who is with us now. The others are surely having connection problems. Penelope, okay. Pauline, what impact does empowerment cause in the life of a girl child?
The impact of empowerment of a girl child is immeasurable in the sense that once a girl is empowered to view herself as a full human being and not as something less than a man or less than in general, then she's able to truly pursue her potential. Whether it's just finishing school or pursuing a career or choosing to pursue a career and not have a family or pursuing to do both. Once girls are empowered, then they are in charge of their lives and of their fates.
Okay, if they're empowered, they can take charge of their lives and their faith, and equally the lives of others who are entrusted to their care. I take Penelope, who is so eager to say something, what empowering a girl child can be to our African society. Penelope.
Yes, I echo exactly what was just said. And I think empowering a girl child or a woman, we have seen in the past, as you indicated, with Sir Leif Johnson, who was the president of Liberia. And then you have the likes of um, in South Africa today, so what is happening, what is evolving anyways in Africa, especially when it comes to nation building, we are seeing a rise of women moving away from what they consider as soft positions and going into much more prominent posts. So in the defense ministry roles and into foreign affairs and so forth. So you have the likes of, in Nigeria, you have Kosi Okonjo-Iweala, who's currently trying to hold or go for a post with the WTO. And she has been a prominent member in the finance ministry in Nigeria. Then you have South Africa, you have the female defense minister, Suviwe. And then you have in Botswana, the UN Women Executive Director. And this women have put forward policies that have sort of benefited other women. So in Botswana particularly, they have increased the consensual age from 16 to 18. So with what Paulina said, that allows the woman or the girl child to, again, explore her potential because she's given the right to follow through with her education. She won't be distracted or influenced by the laws that allows for a man to marry her as young as 16. So with empowering a woman, you allow them to put policies in place that benefit other women, but also benefit the future of the state. Women have shown to be great leaders. They've shown to be integral, and in most cases, they've indicated that when a woman is imposed, issues such as the healthcare sector is improved because they're more likely to focus on things that are going to are sort of affecting the woman and child. So early child mortality is an issue in Africa and across the world, and women are able to focus on those issues, which then becomes a nation that benefits from it
Yoda.
as well. So yeah,
Mhm.
empowering a woman is very important.
Okay, the men are against women being empowered, but there is an adage which says, educate a man, you educate an individual. Educate a woman, you educate a nation. What do you have to say, men, to this adage? They are challenging you who are against the fact that the woman should not be educated, but you are being told without any fear or favor or discrimination that once you educate a woman, you educate a nation. What is your take on this adage? We are still on the impact of empowering the life of a girl child. Daniel?
Okay, I think basically to respond to that that quote that you mentioned, if you when you educate a girl, you educate a nation. We should first understand what a nation is, and I think in the context of political studies, a nation is a group of people with a common value system and common aims. So I personally think it's not really about gender issue that needs to be divided between girls and boys, but then it's about a people. So when you educate a people together they can build that nation. It's not really about whether the person is a guy or a girl. It's about the education of a people with shared values and then shared vision so that they can grow together and become a
Daniel,
prosperous nation.
Philip, I come back to you, or I come to you, and I challenge you with this adage that educate a woman and you educate the nation. What do you think about that? Philip, unmute your microphone.
I hope you can now hear me clearly. I'm sorry about the network issue.
Yes, I'm
And
getting it.
I know my camera is now not very clear because I'm using another device, so you'll bear with me for that.
Yes, we are getting
I
you.
totally agree today, Mr. Elvis. As I said before, today I'll support women because I believe when you educate women, and we've seen what they have done in the community, it is very true. But I'm not saying now we educate women at the expense of men. I'm just supporting that we educate both. Because number one, when you educate a woman, you know, it's always the women that take care of our children. Okay. So when you educate a woman, number one, they will know the value of education and they will spread it. They will take care of their home. And you know, most of the time women are married, they go somewhere else. Okay. They will go and take care of that home. And I just want to say it plainly like that. I don't want to give evidence and have to prove. It is very true that when you educate a woman, you know, we will really feel the impact than when you educate a man. A man will take care of his family, you know, where he's staying, his children. But when you educate a woman, he will take care of his parents, his parents' in-laws, you know, and his children, and even the future generation will be taken care of.
If my ladies had hands, I was supposed to have a hand of applause because Philip is already being won when the debate has not yet fully started. He's already on your side. So, Philip, we are going ahead, and I'm happy you're already taking the side of the ladies and seeing why the lady or the girl child should be empowered. And my question again is the
And if
African
you
girl
allow
child?
me, Mr.
Yes,
Elvis,
Philip?
if you allow me
Yes,
to, if you allow me to add something, why
yes,
I support educating women. Let me tell you something. I lost my mom sometime in my father. Sorry, sometime when I was still young. I think I was about maybe 2 years or 3 years there, and I lived with my mom. And let me tell you, my mom has never seen the door of a classroom. Okay, my
yes.
mom doesn't know how to read A or B. I'm not saying this to degrade her or something, but let me tell you, I'm here today because of my mom. My
I
mom
am
has fought
happy.
to have the education that I have today. I'm not saying if my father was there, I could not have been educated. But if I've seen my people who have been there before and they had their parents, but I've seen women advocate more for educating children than their fathers. Okay,
Thank you so
and
much.
especially
So the impact of a woman on education or being empowered is that she transmits her empowerment to everybody around, and that is what you already said. And
exactly,
I was getting
exactly.
worried. I was getting worried to challenge the ladies on the panel. Is the girl child actually ready to accept empowerment? Are you ladies actually ready to accept empowerment?
Can I answer it?
Penelope.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think women have always been ready. I think we've always seen that as it's being said here, that on the grassroots level, women are always campaigning either for education or for economic support, or just, I mean, in terms of even just during wars, the women are trying to negotiate peace with either the rebellious groups. They've always been on the ground, fighting for the rights of women and children, and also fighting for the rights of their communities. The only issue we have sort of been hinted has been on the sort of national level, when we talk about seeing them being visible in places like politics and the economic sector and so forth. The reason why that has been is because of the mechanisms of politics. So when you're talking about so in Rwanda right now, we've seen a rise of women in government, but that has only happened because they have made it a constitutional right for 50% of seats to be reserved for women. And then as well in South Africa, this is why there's an increase of women at least 40%. So the thing is, unless the men that we're talking to make it an issue to provide avenues for women to be heard and seen, then it's very difficult for these women to have their voices heard. But I think countries are moving forward and realizing the impact of having women empowerment, that they do bring a different, diverse a way of thinking, that their voices, because I mean, there's more women than men. How are we then not trying to hear their voices and hear their concerns and hear their perspectives? And it can only be better for the economy if we have diverse voices at the table. So if like we said, it's the call of action in the Constitution to allow these women to be seen. We have always been ready. We've seen women across the board, as you said, Sarah, Johnson Leave, Joyce Banda, people who stood up and taken up office and have been very good in fighting corruption, in trying to provide political participation for women and children. So we have just not been given the chance, but we've always been ready, and we are more than capable, because we look after the home. It's not an easy task. When you look after the home, you're looking after children. That means education is being put forward. If you're looking after children, you're worrying about their health. That means you know about the healthcare. If you're looking after the children, your family, that means economic status. You're always thinking about money. That's why we're more than capable. We know we can always think ahead. We're always thinking about many things at once, and we can deliver the task at hand effectively. We just need the voice, especially in Africa, to be heard.
Thank you so much. I think what you just said is supported here very strongly by Mila Kiboye, one of our panelists from Kenya, Nairobi, who says for visibility while empowering a woman, the below ground need to be put in place. Economic empowerment, cultural empowerment, national empowerment. Otherwise, we can't empower a woman on simply one ground. So Mila is supporting your point that for us to empower a woman, we should do it in a holistic manner. Thank you so much, Penelope, for that powerful contribution. We noticed that in most of our African countries, women had been relegated to the backyard, not going to school. I don't know, do you have what are some of the biased reasons behind the fact that African girls were not supposed to go to school? I use were because the percentages, though rising small, gradually they are equally rising significantly somehow, that we have Penelope and Pauline on this podium today. In those days, we may have just men available for this type of program. Do you think there are some bias aspects or thoughts or mindsets that could hinder the woman or the girl child being accepted to go to school or to be sent to school? I take Philip, who will have many bias issues about the woman, why they should not be sent to school. Philip.
Yes. Mr. Elvis, I didn't get your question right. Please, if you can come up again, I will appreciate.
Yeah, I say in our African context, we discover that many women or many girls don't go to school. And we want to point out some bias thoughts or mindsets that would have led to our girl child not being sent to school as a priority or not being educated as a priority.
Yes, I think as the fact that I come from Kenya, we have a lot of pastoralist communities, which most of the time, as one of my colleagues mentioned before I left, when I had network issues, about women being or young girls getting married early And I think it's because that they think that when they educate these girls, they will leave their homes and they will be married somewhere else. So some people think it's not really important to take these ladies to school because, and some of them actually think that instead of taking them to school, why not let them get married so that we can get dowry, So they look at ladies in terms of source of income, and not really let me just say less of a human being or a material for trade. And I think which is not really should not be the case. And I think that is one of the main factors in our African setups why most ladies are not taken or most girls are not taken to school. And then I think another thing is just poverty. Some people are just very poor that they can't afford to take their children to school. Maybe they have many children, and as you know, our African setup, many people get a lot of children, and then maybe they will consider taking the boys to school instead of the girls. And I think that is one of also maybe I can consider one of the major hindrances to educating a girl child. So I think these are some of the things that we can really look into. And I think maybe going forward we'll maybe discuss maybe how these things can be stopped so that ladies can be educated just as men. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Daniel, you're from Ghana. What are some of those traditional ideas that can hinder a family educating their girl child?
Okay, so what I'll say, the culture in Ghana here is not so much different from what is there in Kenya. Poverty is one of the things, and then another thing is the early marriages. And you notice that the early marriages most of the time lead to early pregnancies and early childbirth. And in most cases, what happens is that because of this history of non-empowerment and non-education, most of the jobs have been given to the men. So it has become sort of a norm that the men are the workers of the in the community, and then the women are the caretakers of the family. So it still connects to that instance of early marriages and early childbirth, where the women will have, because they don't have employment, because they don't have jobs, they literally have to stay at home and then take care of the children. Because even if they didn't have children, they wouldn't have jobs anyway, because of that history of non-empowerment and then non-education. So that is also one of the reasons why most of the girls have not been able to make it to the school and be empowered to take these topics.
And
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Elvis, if you allow me before my sister speak, I think if Lisa Olo, I saw somebody, Lisa Olo, if she is here, I think she can confirm that one of the major challenges I think we've had in Kenya, and if we have been watching news recently, I think for the past few days that children have been at home due to COVID, I think one issue that is really coming up clearly is the early pregnancies, where we've had very many figures going around of children being pregnant. I think 2 days ago I was watching news of a lady who has been can I say gang raped, if I can put that in quote, by a chief and some of his colleagues somewhere, and you see somebody like a chief is somebody who's supposed to protect these girls. And now when you watch news, it's heartbreaking. Somebody like me, I just have a son, 1 year, and maybe I hope one day I will have a daughter. But you see now when you see such kind of issues, it really breaks your heart, because these are the same people who are supposed to provide security for these ladies or these young girls, and then they take advantage of them. I think it's really heartbreaking, and it's really one of the issues that we Africans need to look into very seriously. And I think the case of Garissa, if you know counties of Kenya, Garissa County, there's a chief who convinced a lady or a girl, convinced the parents that now that people are not going to school or children are not going to school, bring your child so that I can tuition, I can offer tuition for her. And then this person end up doing, the unthinkable with this child, and takes a photo and then threatens this girl with the photo that if you say this, I'll share this photo. I think those are some of the challenges that we have as Africans. And then the fact that women are not maybe allowed to talk freely. Maybe now it is changing, but I think the culture is still there, that women cannot be allowed to talk freely. So I think those are some of the big hindrances that are really affecting our young girls.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the contributions. I take the ladies now. I know they are going to thrill us so powerfully, but I know the influence would not have worked for them. If not, they wouldn't have been with us this evening. Penelope, what are those bias aspects in your tradition that must have hindered some of your friends from the parents sending them to school?
I think everything that was said was quite powerful, and I'm just glad men are bringing this at the forefront and are actually aware of it, because there's been a short-sightedness or a blindedness from men not to see these issues, because a lot of them have benefited them. So when you talk about the sexual assaults or the sexual violence against women and children in Africa, it's a big issue that we know is very hard to tackle, because a lot of it is embedded into culture and traditions. And you see that with the rise, or with FGM, the idea that if a girl has had FGM done, she's more suitable for marriage, she's more pure. So all these like just backward ways of thinking that removes, sort of, that takes the humanness out of the girl and takes away what she's capable of, because it tells her that she's only suitable if she's good enough for a man. And those are the biases, I think, that have flooded a lot of African mindsets, especially even as educated as I am, and even being in Europe. I know that the first thing that I'm asked after I talk about my qualifications, I'm always asked, are you married or do you have a child? And it sort of discredits everything you've achieved, because it says that the only thing that makes you a woman is your household and your children, which it's not either or. I think my argument is not to remove the need of a man or the importance of a man, because without the man in the household, it's not, it won't work. I think both have to collaborate and work in support. And the biases, I think, in my tradition, again, being educated, especially when you do go and study and get your masters and everything, is the assumption that you're going to be intimidating to a man, or that you're not going to be a good wife because you're going to speak back, or that you probably can't look after a home much more than somebody from the rural area who wasn't educated. So there's always a level, and it always increases, and it's always to undermine the woman's achievements. And I mean, it's changing in Namibia now. It's changing in my culture as a hero woman. It's shifting, because men are not maybe placing their identity in what they do as much, and are just realizing that you're a man because you're a man, not because of what you do. And it doesn't take away your power. By me being in a higher position doesn't mean I disrespect you or undervalue you. And I think these things are shifting as time goes on. But those has been the biases, especially now for young women at my age who studied politics. I think it has always been that you're going to intimidate a man, and that a lot of men are not going to be able to handle you because you're very educated, which is not true. But yeah, those has been the biases that I've experienced anyways.
Are you telling me that when women get educated, they equally get too difficult?
That's the assumption, that we become too difficult, but maybe we are just seeking to correct the men in their ways of thinking.
I
But
think that should be a defensive mechanism so that the men should know
no,
you
I
are
think
equally
we
there.
gotta help challenge the men, and in helping them think differently. I think that's what we bring forward, and most men want to stay. Or the systems have allowed men to be in a place of power for a long time. And it's very difficult to give up power when you've had it for so long. So it has been a challenge for women to come through, even in the posts that we're talking about in nation building. A lot of them had to struggle and sacrifice, either giving up being married or giving up having children, to stand side to side to men, because the system and the mechanisms that are in place make it very challenging for them. And that's not right, but it's just been how the game is played. But I don't think women who are educated, I think if anything, they're much more submissive, to be honest with you.
Okay, you really have to convince us, and I think they are, because most men feel threatened if a woman should be the one ahead and he is answerable to the woman. But I think women do it very well, and it just depends on how you interact with her. If you want to go the other way, she takes it very harshly. So the men who are being, governed or ruled by the women, let me not say ruled, that the men are answerable to them, do not take any offense. It is just that they are more apt and more competent to do the work, just as you could still be the one handling that post. So do not feel threatened. Just work and collaborate, and everything is going to be well. They have said so much already on some of the bias that can exist for some African families or parents not willing to send their children to school. Pauline, do you still have something to add before we get into the conclusion of our debate? Because we are developing and coming up slowly so that we see the need for the African child being educated, and so that we end with actually, if the African child is empowered enough to be to be an active participant in nation building. So, Pauline, you have something to say?
Yes, just to add that the challenge may not always be accessing education. For example, Namibia has done a very good job of ensuring that both boys and girls have access to education, are enrolled at primary and secondary levels in comparable numbers. But the challenge has often come in where girls reach adolescence age, and a lot of them struggle when they become pregnant or struggle with the school system not being able to address their needs, whether it's in terms of their sexual reproductive health needs or in terms of their menstruation, having ablution facilities and things like that. So some of those issues that come up during adolescence actually lead to girls dropping out of the school system or missing so many days of school during the school year that they end up failing. And so it's not always a question of access, especially not for a lot of the countries in Southern Africa, but issues that girls encounter as they age, adolescence. And then, of course, when they go to university level, it's about, okay, now you've done your bachelor's, that's good enough, go and get married. So it's a struggle to truly encourage or make sure that women go through the entire education to master's level or even doctorate level. As an
Okay.
international relations officer at a university, I struggle to convince female academics to pursue further studies to PhD level because they have to balance questions of family and such other social expectations that are put on them as women. So it
Thank
doesn't
you.
just have to do with access.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. Now, I don't want to ask about the importance of educating a girl child because we have touched that in our development, in our speeches, in our interventions. But I want us now to look at if the African girl child is actually empowered to be able to take part in nation building, which is the heart of our discussion this evening. I take the ladies because the men will want to put down what the ladies are going to say. I'm seeing Daniel looking and moving the head, but I will take Penelope. What do you think? Is the African girl child empowered enough to actively take part in nation building?
Well, to conclude, I don't think that the African girl child is empowered enough. As Pauline indicated, that there's a lot of factors that affect a woman or girl child in Africa to pursue her career in Africa, especially in nation building, because of what she indicated, the accessibility. So education is not inclusive enough. It has not thought about all the other factors that affect the woman. So as she said, sanitary towels being accessible, but even on a career level, recently they were talking about when women were placed into government, they had to change the toilets to encompass them to be woman friendly and ensure that they were, they had all the sanitary towels available. They had to incorporate daycare centers. So things like that need to be put forward as well to support the woman as she follows through into her career and then becoming a nation, contributing to the nation. Um, and then in addition, I think the constitution has to change in most of these African countries. As we've seen, Rwanda has been making that constitutional right for at least 50 seats to be reserved for women. We're seeing that in South Africa as well. It's a voluntary constitutional right, but also changing so where we were talking about the electoral system right now, in most of these African countries, we have proportional representation of voting, so it allows the majority to win. But what happens is if the gender quotas are not put in place, then it doesn't make any difference for having an electoral system that allows the majority to win, because the gender quotas allows for women to then come through. So if then we say we want at least 30% of women from ground level politics to the state house to be reserved, then that will make it more accessible for women. So there's a lot of things policies that need to be put in place that would accompany this woman from when she's an infant to when she's getting her mid-30s to deciding to have children, that need to be put in place to support the women to become empowered. And at the moment, I don't feel like we have made enough progress. We are working towards it, but we still have a lot more to go. And that's just what I think so far.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a lot to go. I mean that we have to continue educating the girl child. We have to continue opening doors for the girl child so that they will be empowered enough to be able to actively take part in nation building. I take Daniel. Daniel, what do you have to say about the African girl child? Is she empowered already enough to be able to take part in nation building?
Yeah, I would say that I think, like you said, as we have Penelope and Paulina here, it shows that some work has been done. However, we are still not there yet, because when you even look at the political representation that we have women taking up just about 25% of the political representation across Africa. And that becomes problematic, because when you even look at the population, the female population is over 50%. So that already shows you that there's some imbalance there, and we are not there yet. Another thing is also has to do with the wages that are paid. I think research has showed that female in the workplace are paid 16% less than males, and this is still something that will hinder the girl child or the female from actually being empowered. So these are some of the things that must be looked at. One more area is the returns for work, and you notice that in the informal sector, when a man and a woman are engaged for work for the same period of time, the man is usually paid more than the woman. So these are little factors that show that there's still more work to be done in the area of gender empowerment, and then woman empowerment to actually contribute to
Ayemle Linda
nation building.
says educating a child, a girl child, is educating a nation. It means that she is for the fact that if a girl child is educated, the nation will have better, advantages or better output, since the woman is the mother of the nation. So it's better we have a mother of the nation than the father of the nation. It means that if African continent or countries begin having many female leaders, Africa will be a better place by 2063. I come to Pauline. Pauline, do you think your fellow girls are educated enough, empowered enough to be able to participate in nation building?
Like my fellow panelists have said, no, the girl child is not empowered enough. But I have to say that Africa has made a lot of positive moves and a lot of progress, and we have to remember that it has only been 64, 65 years since the end of colonialism. So when we look at all the African countries and the progress that individual countries have made, I think we can find a lot of bright spots. And for me, especially for the countries that are more, let's say, liberal, they are almost there, but the key lies in actually implementing the laws and the rules and regulations that are in place. Namibia is a very good example of that, where we have, for example, 7 different laws that address gender-based violence, and yet on a daily basis in the news there's some case of gender-based violence. So while we have the structures and the laws and even the systems there, we are not fully implementing them, we are not fully utilizing them, and we are also failing to use the systems that are in place to protect children. And for Africa as a whole, one of the things that I would like to see to happen is to increase the age of consent. So that's where we protect girl children with one fell swoop. 16 to 14 years old, not old enough to consent to sexual activity or to marriage, that needs to be 18 across the whole continent.
Okay, we have is it Tromfi Hapisu from Kenya? He says, or she says, from Kenya perspective, and me being a woman, the concentration to empower girls has been so much, leaving the men behind. So it is possible to empower the boy child even as we do the girl child. So we have a balanced society. Otherwise, the empowered girl will not find their equals in life to settle with and continue with family institution being one example. So she is encouraging the Kenyan government to equally lay emphasis on the education of the boy child so that the will or the women will not be left alone or getting married to unempowered men, of course, so that they can be on the same wavelength, they can move on the same energy level. Thank you so much, Trophy Hapisu from Kenya. Thank you, and continue watching our programs live on Facebook and equally on YouTube on Mondays for the debate. And we have Sunday, the business class, and Thursday, we have racism. All of this on Sompon Social Network. We come to Philip. Philip, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, Elvis.
Do you think
And I'm happy that
African sisters are empowered to be able to take part actively in nation building?
I'm happy that I'm talking actually after you've read the comment of my boss. Trufosa Pisu is my boss where I work. So I'm glad she's
Okay.
watching. And I want to agree. I want to agree with everybody else that have said that we have not done enough. I agree that we've not done enough, but the progress so far has been good. Giving an example that my colleague who spoke earlier mentioned is Rwanda. Rwanda is really doing well, even if you look at the people who have been nominated to the government, most of them are women, especially in the cabinet. And then when we come to Kenya, as my boss has just mentioned, actually, we I think generally in Africa we are countries that make very good laws. We are very good. Our legislatures are very good in making laws, but the problem comes in implementation. In Kenya, we have very good laws. Actually, our law says that whenever nominating or whenever creating any position, two-thirds one gender should not take more than two-thirds. So which means they are putting women in mind and they're putting men in mind when coming up with these laws. And the only thing now when it comes to implementation, but one thing I also want to add also is that I think women are also enemies of themselves because one of the ladies here just mentioned that we have very many women compared to men. And when we go to elections, every now and then, if I look at my country, Kenya, we have like 47 governors. But how many are women? I think just two. One of them was almost being impeached the other day. So I think also women should also pull up their socks because the laws are there. If it is school, they'll be given opportunity. Like in my country, Kenya, if it comes to going to the university, they have been given opportunity. The points have actually been lowered on the side of ladies so that more of them can go to the university. So more of them can pursue university education. So I think it is up to them to pull up their socks. Actually, the opportunities are there. They have been given the platform, so they just have to work together because there are many. When they pull together, I think they can make that
Thank you
change
so
for
much.
themselves. I think that
Thank you so
I
much.
laid
Let
my
me
case
take
there.
Daniel. Daniel has been listening very keenly and he surely has something to say. Daniel, your word on the African girl child being empowered enough to take part in nation building. What do you have to say? Daniel, you have the floor.
Sorry. Yeah. So I'm saying it's very important what my brother Philip was just saying. As you know, women constitute the majority in the entire African population and indeed in the various individual countries, but yet we still don't see that representation. And so that is a clear indication, like I mentioned earlier, for some statistics, that we just have about 1 out of 4 in the political front in leadership, and the same goes with the corporate sector, which is not the best. So the message I want to put out there is that even as we push for the formal sector education, we should also attack it from the cultural perspective, because most of the things happen from the cultural perspective. Most of them happen from home. It's just like learning a language. You go and learn a language in school, you learn English at school, then you get home and they are speaking the local language. You cannot really move forward and ever become fluent. So just like the women empowerment, even as they go through the education system, as we said, education is the key to nation building. We should also attack it from the cultural perspective, because that is where a lot of the harm is happening. That is where the parents and the families are indoctrinating young girls that they cannot make it, they cannot go forward. So that has been one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of women out there. So we should also look there and then try and fix things.
Thank you
from
so
that.
much. Thank you, Hapisu, for being actively present in our program and sending your contributions. We are happy to have you today. So we are agreeing and accepting without any fear of discrimination that it is important to educate the girl child, because she is the mother, she is our sister, she is our friend, and they are always so passionate in whatever they are doing. And the girls have proven to us, being here at this very moment, talking to us on the importance on how we could empower our girl children. It is a clear fact that we must, all of us, put hands together. Parents who are still keeping their children behind, that education is actually the key. One last word from all of you before we leave. I take Daniel. Daniel, can you conclude? One last word. You have 1 minute. Your last take. What will you say is the importance actually of education of our girl child? Your last word to those who are listening to you in Ghana.
Okay, so my last word would be development of any nation is a shared responsibility, and shared meaning that it comes from each of the citizens. And it's obvious that our population is made up of majority women, so we should empower more women, because they can equally assist and contribute to nation building. So let's push for woman empowerment.
All right, women are more than the men in population, and so they should equally be partakers of all that is happening around them. I take Philip. Let the men go first. Philip, one last word for those who are watching you in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes, we thank them for joining and watching. And one last thing I will say is that we should give women opportunity, even as us men. I think we've had a culture where it is men who have the say. It is men who say that this is how it has to be done. So I think going forward, the only way to empower women is not just educating them. It is not just taking them to school. It is not just maybe making laws. I think it is also giving them chance as men, because they can't fight with us. You know, we are more muscular. So we can't go to a fight with women and then expect them to win. So at the end of the day, we should be listening to them and we should give them the opportunity,
Okay,
I think,
thank you
as
so
men.
much. You have
Yeah, thank you.
Maxwell Menza from Namibia, I suppose, who says women will do better once they stop seeing another woman's success as pride. Women should learn to support each other. And I think if women really can stop seeing another woman's success as pride, women will go far the distance to become successful equally, because sometimes when a woman gets on top, she sees any other person as being inferior. I take Pauline, what do you have to say? Your last word to those who are watching you in Namibia. Namibia is highly represented on this panel this evening.
Yes, just to say that to the men of Namibia, you have nothing to fear by putting more women in leadership positions, especially since women are more cooperative and think beyond themselves. And then to the women of Namibia, I would like to say that, my sisters, please, let's start uplifting each other rather than tearing each other down.
Start embracing each other rather than tearing each other down. That was so powerful from you, Pauline. And I take Penelope. who is an analyst, and she's always meticulous in the way she puts her words. Penelope, one last word for you before I conclude.
It's very difficult because I want to address Philip when he said about the women are given opportunities and don't take them. But you have to take into consideration how the electoral system works, and that's the reason why a lot of women only end up in 2 seats, even though 50 probably go for the role. It's the system. It's not naturally the woman. But also with regards to us being seen as catty and pulling each other down, that's quite trivial. In all necessity, a lot of women when they come together do want to work together because these are issues that affect them. My last word is thank you so much for watching. But I would like to say that empowering women, we've seen women to be entrepreneurs, to be at the forefront of innovating technology and digitalizing and commercializing businesses. Sorry, that word is tricky. But we have seen them to be leaders and integral in what they do. And like Pauline said, we're very cooperative. So men should not see us as a competitor, but see us as somebody that they could work with and collaborate with to tackle issues that are the problem in our nations rather than fight each other. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking part on today's debate. We hope to always have you on the panel when you're a chance. I want to equally thank all our viewers, all our listeners all over Africa and even beyond, that this is our platform, this is our space, the debate, and we are welcoming all youths in Africa to take part. And today we are agreeing powerfully that educating a woman is educating a nation. So let us educate our girl children so that they should equally be partakers in the electoral processes, in the legislation, and equally take part actively in building Africa, which we want it to be the Africa we want by 2063. Thank you so very much, and stay tuned to our programs on the Sompon Social Network. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.
Yeah, good evening
Bye-bye.
for those who have good
Good
evening,
evening,
good night.
everyone. Thank you so much. Night. Good night. Oh, thank you
Elvis,
so much. Yes, you're
this is
back.
wonderful. That's good. It was really good.
So you allow
In
me
my
to
house,
suffer like this alone.
people are
So
clapping in my house. That's good.
thank you so